Hi, I'm Grace.
Hi, Grace.
Hi.
And I'm Anya.
Hi, Anya.
And we're from the Santa Barbara Middle School Teen Press, and we're here with
Susan Cain.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Okay,
It's so great to be here with you guys.
It's great to be here with you too.
Thank you.
So, we learned that your grandfather was very, very important to you, that you used to love to sit in his study filled with books and read. If you add your imagination to our stacks of books, maybe this room can feel a little like that place tonight, because our first question is about your grandfather. After we ask it, let's take a pause for 20 seconds or so you can think about your answer, okay?
Okay.
If you could ask your grandfather a question or could tell him something tonight, what would you like to say?
Gosh, I'd like to say that, wow, I really wish he were here. Wow, no, I'm going to get choked up. But I wish that he could have known that I would grow up to be a writer. And yeah, you know, we had this shared love of books. And yeah, so I wish that he could have known that.
Yeah.
For each of our questions, we made bumper stickers to go on your suitcase. We weren't sure if you would like them to go on the outside of your suitcase or the inside. Our first bumper sticker is, we read your 6-word memoir. It is, I loved, I mothered, I wrote. What made you think that this was too sappy to say?
Oh, wow, you guys really did your homework. Well, just because, you know, it's a funny thing. I think that we live in a culture where if you express something that is really, truly from the heart, it's seen as sappy. You know, it's a culture that values irony and values a kind of distance and a kind of coolness. So, yeah, I think there's an idea of, like, if you just sort of wear your heart on your sleeve like that's not quite ironic enough. So that's why I made that comment. But the truth is, those are the 3 things that matter to me, hands down.
Yeah, it's great. Here, you can keep the stickers.
Thank you. This is the most creative. I've done so many interviews since this book came out, and this is hands down the most creative interview ever. I'm really impressed.
Thank you. Okay, so Proust said, reading is a miracle of communication in the midst of solitude. When is the time you experienced that miracle?
Oh, wow, thank you for these. Gosh, I've experienced it so many times, but, you know, I think back to early childhood. I would read these books and I would feel like I really knew the author, you know, and like the author was speaking to me and I was speaking to the author. And I mean, the amazing thing is you don't even need to be alive at the same time as the person whose words you're reading, and you still feel like you know them and you're communing with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've read one of your mantras. It is, there isn't anyone you couldn't love once you've heard their story.
Mm-hmm.
Could you tell us about someone you fell in love with because of their story?
Wow, these are great questions. So that mantra comes from my friend Courtney Martin, by the way, who's a wonderful writer and who signs every single one of her emails with that quote. And I'm always really touched by that. And I'm sorry, so your question is someone who I came to love through knowing their story. I don't know, you know, it's funny because what's coming to mind is actually is fiction. And I think one of the amazing things about reading fiction and about encouraging kids to read fiction is you really start to understand what the world looks like through other people's eyes. And we actually even know that that people who read fiction tend to be more empathic because, you know, it's really a way of feeling what other people feel. So I'm thinking of this book that I read, Nectar in a Sieve. I don't know if you've come across it, because I read it when I was about your age. And it was a book about a very poor family in India and the struggles that they went through. And to this day, anytime I read a newspaper article about people in poverty, I think of the characters in that book and how much I loved those characters and, you know, felt what it was like to not have enough rice to eat.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Hallelujah is one of the songs we sing around the campfire, and we read you heard it recently at one of your favorite concerts. What does it mean to you?
Oh, wow, you guys sang that around the campfire. Yeah, I love that song, and it comes from one of my favorite composers and singers, Leonard Cohen. So, wow, I mean, that song, but in general, his whole body of work just represents this way of being in the world that is very spiritual. I would say he is an unabashedly spiritual character.
Yeah.
And I love that about him. And I like it that he allows people to operate on that wavelength and to come together on that wavelength. So when I heard him sing this song, it was at a concert that he gave. He must be now about 75. I saw him about a year ago. And the whole room, the whole arena was just suffused with this spirit that was very unlike what you see in everyday life, but he carries that around with him, and you feel it in his songs.
Yeah. At our school, we learn about Carpe Diem, seize the day a lot. What lesson and activities would you suggest we have so that we could learn to seize the quiet?
Oh, gosh, that's really interesting. Well, I would say, encouraging people every day to go off by themselves, and whether it's reading a book or writing in a journal, or just sitting and thinking. Also, to encourage each person to find a special place that encourages feelings of transcendence for them. Like when I lived in Manhattan, there was one year I was living on 29th Street across from this beautiful, tiny little church. It was this tiny building sandwiched between two gigantic skyscrapers, and you would walk into this church, and it was quiet and beautiful, and there would never be anybody there, and it smelled really beautiful. And you go into a place like that, and you're in a different state of being, and you have different kinds of thoughts. So I think it's important for everybody to find that place, that activates those feelings of transcendence for them.
So we made another sticker, Rowdy Not. We go to middle school, which can be a very unquiet place.
Yes.
How would you design our classroom?
Well, I mean, first of all, before even talking about the classroom design, I would say, middle school is probably the hardest time of life to be introverted or to enjoy quiet, because it's really a time where it feels as if the only social currency available to you is to be very gregarious and very vivacious. So I just want to say to anybody who's listening or watching, if you have trouble with that, you should know that it gets better, and life is not like that later on. There are many other forms of social currency as you get older, and ways to contribute, and ways to be valued, and ways to connect with people. And I'm sorry, what was your specific question?
It was
how would I design the
how
classrooms?
would you design our classroom?
Yeah, I would design your classrooms with a lot more independent time and a lot more autonomy in your work. I was amazed when I was doing the research for my book and went into classrooms to find out how much today's classrooms are based around group work. I think you guys are doing way too much group work. I think some of it is fine, but you're doing it all the time now.
Yeah.
And it's really important for people to go off and also know how to work by themselves and sustain themselves.
Yeah.